past, with previous generations, I think there was an understandable fear that you had to go for a third party, a media owner, to communicate your message, and invariably what came out the other side was sort of a game of Chinese whispers. What you say didn't always appear in print or on TV. And I think what everyone needs to understand now is there's no middleman, there's no person in the middle, and if you want to have a successful career away from the pitch or away from the court, I think you need to define that voice and identity. And you have a publishing empire, so a leader needs to understand his or her tribe, right? And effectively what these guys now have got is their own tribe that they can mobilize and communicate to. What do they stand for? What is the culture of that tribe? So why should you follow me and why should you engage with me? So those that will succeed will be the ones that find their true voice.
Fans are always going to want that little bit more than they're seeking out. And I think it's kind of an exciting time because you've got that digital sort of access to people. But I think almost kind of going back to Simon's point, the athlete's got to be able to understand what their expertise is. So they're an expert at being an athlete. They know that inside out, which kind of sits in that health world. But also they've got kind of an expertise in their own personal backgrounds. And I think as long as they stay within that kind of nice sort of knowledge set and they kind of are quite true to what they value, then I think that's kind of a good space for them to be. I don't think they should feel like they have to give more than they're comfortable to.
I believe that the next generation of micro-influencers are going to take over the world really quickly. We're seeing it already in our product. Obviously, we're in a closed beta and it's not generally available. But we're seeing young kids that have, maybe 500 followers on Instagram, but are pushing some of the best content that you're seeing out there, even better than some of the pro players that we all follow and love. And I think that just giving them a proper platform and the right tools to build that is just only going to generate more audience and more engagement.
I think, it's going to be a really interesting sort of phase for football clubs, I believe, because I think the nature of their relationship, I think it's going to have to be collaborative. I think, pinning down an individual, I think, having seen, many clubs experiment that, over the last sort of few years, and I guess, has not worked, and it's caused rifts between players and managers. I think, naturally, there's going to be a really interesting sort of area where I'm sure that the football clubs will naturally, I think they're going to have to become, can they become, agencies within themselves? Will they be able to almost, take the IP of these athletes, and especially the younger athletes that are coming through the academies that are about to sort of, jump into the world of social media? I'm sure their teams, and I'm sure their digital teams and their entourages as such are only going to grow as well, because the commercial opportunities, the brand development opportunities, and even like the public image that you've seen the likes of Marcus Rashford and Raheem Sterling be able to build even just in lockdown. So I think there's going to have to be a collaborative approach, because the power is can very much be in the mega stars, but I think between clubs and athletes, is there room for having like an agency approach is something that I'd be really interested in seeing, over the next sort of few years, if they do sort of within the clubs, capture that power, so to speak, and work together as an agency.
It's going to be all about enhancing our broadcast experience. As I was saying, with the NBA as well, 99% of our fans will never be able to go to a live game. So we tackle this issue for quite some time, and this will only accelerate this movement towards that, and having more and more options to our fans to experience that game.
Because Extreme, for those of you who are not familiar, it's a new race championship. It's going to start next year in March. And it's only going to have 5 races in the most remote corners of the planet. So we're going to race in the Arctic. We're going to race in the Amazon rainforest, in a deforested area on the Amazon rainforest. We're going to race in the Himalayas, in a place where there used to be glaciers and now there is no glaciers. We're going to race in the coastline of Senegal. And there is no public. So the whole event is conceived. It was designed without any live attendance. We didn't know COVID was going to happen, but then it happened. So it makes it probably the only sport that it's basically done not to have any spectators there. So we came up with this virtual hospitality, and it's all about giving premium experience to the corporate guests or to the fans at home. But they need to feel they're different. They need to feel that they have either special access, even one-on-one communication with drivers, special onboard cameras, special food, special merchandising. Even we are talking to some of our car manufacturers to have a driving experience in their city with their favorite brand. So, for example, if say BMW is racing in the series, and their partners are inviting those guests, you get this electric BMW to pick you up in your apartment in your city and take you for a spin or whatever. So it's basically taking the experience to the place where people live. We started thinking of this because we're going to be racing in the end of the world, but now with COVID, maybe it can be applied more extensively.
We had our first event in Jacksonville, Florida in June, and I was nervous. I wasn't nervous because of the virus. I was nervous because the experience wouldn't be the same for consumers. We had so many protocols in place. We had a less than the number of people that would start off on the starting line. I personally drove down to Florida with my family because I wasn't going to ask consumers or my staff to be there if I wasn't going to be there. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I was pleasantly surprised at how awesome it was. And normally we'd have 8,000 or 9,000 people in an event. This event, we had a couple of thousand calls. And I can't tell you how many hundred people came around a corner, saw me, and just started crying that they got a chance to live again. So I think all the virtual things and initiatives we're talking about are great and a requirement. But I think humans need interaction, even if it's at 6 feet away. And I saw it firsthand. Literally, people just started tearing up and crying. They've been locked in their homes for so long. They just felt alive again.
We have, call it 20 people on our content team that are capturing 49ers and or other sports every single day. However, I just mentioned we have 10 million fans all over the world capturing 49ers content. So you have to embrace it. Like, user-generated content is just another form of we call it 49ers Studios, our 49ers Studios team. I mean, if you think about last year, Live Nation Ticketmaster is an equity owner inside of Elevate. They had more of a reaction to tickets go on sale for the NFL season based off user-generated 30-second advertisements versus like studio recorded production quality. Because to Joe's point, like, people want to be in the action. They want to see what happens there.
Barca Innovation Hub was created about 3 years ago. In fact, it is an ecosystem that Football Club Barcelona has created to foster knowledge and technology. It is our lab to increase the performance of our 2,500 athletes on the field. And we want to be able to achieve to become the Silicon Valley of the sports. Football Club Barcelona is the first club that has engaged into a lab, and we want to make sure that we create a benchmark of not only education and knowledge and technology and innovation, but also on the field of game. So definitely what we are trying to become is a referral, and agreements with such companies like Pixelot are making us to become first row of this technology engagement.
Pixelot has been starting to engage in AI and computer vision and algorithm to film, produce, and stream completely automatic games around 4 or 5 years ago. And to date, we are installed in around 8,000 fields from 16 different types of sport. Of course, soccer is the main sport. And just to give you a sense, in January, we were producing live 100,000 hours of live events. That's a lot. Since we got so much data collected in our AI grid, we were able to become very accurate with the tracking we do. Essentially, we track all the moving objects, and based on algorithms and AI, we decide how to frame it, how to frame what will the viewer see. The viewer might be the fan, so a lot of our activities, the fans, even with Barca, and some of the lower, we have 16 systems, some of them can be used also for streaming, but the viewer might be, of course, the analyst and the coach. So since we had such a strong AI and high accuracy, we were able to start creating strong applications for professional coaching, video analysis tool, because automation and data is the future. And if you can get, the more you can get automated the data and the analysts can really focus, I guess, on what they need to do and not deal too much with data collection or video filming and stuff like that. So this is how we can help.